Don't let YouTube decide what information you get. That's your choice. YouTube is deleting our videos and cuts you off from a source of honest reporting. Make sure you don't lose access to NTD's news content, and take a quick moment to subscribe to our newsletter so no matter what happens here, you'll keep your access to a trustworthy news source.
And Florida is suing the Biden administration over the vaccine mandate for federal contractors. Governor Ron DeSantis says the mandate is not only unconstitutional, but it also deprives people of their livelihoods.
Hey, how are you guys doing?
Great, thank you.
Florida officials filed the lawsuit in a U.S. district court in Florida against President Biden, NASA, and several officials involved in federal procurement. Florida is also seeking a preliminary injunction against the mandate for contractors.
In the state of Florida, you have a right to earn a living, and it should not be denied to you based on these shots. And so we want to protect people who are working now in the state of Florida. These people have been working the whole doggone time, and then now all of a sudden they're going to get kicked to the curb.
President Biden's vaccine mandate requires all federal contractors to be vaccinated by December 8th. NASA and other agencies often contract with Florida, so the governor says this mandate will impact his state a lot.
We also cannot have the federal government coming in exceeding their power. Some of the stuff that they're doing with the federal contract, they're really rewriting contracts, and they're transforming normal contracting into basically public health policy, and that's not anything Congress has ever authorized.
DeSantis points out such vaccine mandates are going to make people lose their jobs and disrupt the economy.
Do you think this is going to help the supply chain problems that we see? Do you think it's going to help lower gas prices? Is it going to help all these problems that we need to do? No, if anything, it will exacerbate.
The governor also says the Florida legislature will have a special session soon. They plan to focus on bills to protect workers from vaccine mandates.
Thanks, everybody.
And New York City is going to lose 50,000 city workers when the city's vaccine mandate takes effect on Friday. That includes police officers and firefighters. The latter are protesting for their right to work. NTD's Arian Pazdar was at today's demonstration.
Thousands of firefighters have come together here in front of the mayor's residence. They say they're not against the vaccine, but against the mandate, which was imposed by the mayor. People from all over the city and Long Island came to Manhattan's Upper East Side on Thursday, one day before the mandate takes effect. A retired fire marshal says he's against the mandate because of his personal experience.
My brother-in-law was 43 years old. He got the shot. 3 days later, he was dead.
All unvaccinated city employees will be put on unpaid leave. The vice president of the city's firefighters union says that can have a terrible impact on many families.
In the Northeast community, in New York City, and the New York greater area, it's very expensive to live here. So you can't go very long without a check up here.
There's not only the financial aspect of it. The president of the International Association of Firefighters says the mandate doesn't make much sense because many firefighters already had COVID when they worked through the height of the pandemic.
Almost all of them have had COVID-19. They have antibodies. There's other science that provides them that they should have a choice.
I spoke to a mother and son who are originally from Greece. They're not affiliated with the firefighters, but chose to join the protest because of what happened in their country when communists tried to take over.
Because they pitted brother against brother, and that's what we feel is happening right now with vaccinated, unvaccinated scenario, and it's a repeat of history. And my mother told me in her native language that she sees it repeating itself right now. You cannot divide and conquer, and that's what they're doing. They're dividing and conquering, they're separating people, and this will not lead to any good.
Around 35%, or almost 4,000 firefighters, have not gotten the shot yet.
Wake up, New York! Wake up, New York!
Union members say that entire fire departments might have to shut down because of the mandate. Arian Pastar, NTD News, New York.
And breaking news just this afternoon, Facebook is changing its company name. The tech giant says it chose the name Meta to reflect its current ambitions. Facebook CEO gave a preview of how the company's future could look.
It is time for us to adopt a new company brand to encompass everything that we do. To reflect who we are and what we hope to build, I am proud to announce that starting today, our company is now Meta.
The company announced the news at the Facebook Connect Summit. The name change paves the way for it to expand beyond just social media into a metaverse, or virtual reality universe. The concept isn't new, but it's unclear what exactly it would look like. In July, the company said it created a team to work on the project. Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg predicts the metaverse needs 5 to 10 years to take off. Is it becoming more difficult for parents to speak at school board meetings? A school board in Minnesota is coming up with new rules. Parents who want to speak must state their home address first, and they're not allowed to direct their comments to individual school board members.
The chair of Mankato School Board in Minnesota announced new rules for people who want to speak during the public portion of school board meetings. The following video is from the meeting on October 18th.
I just want to remind everyone this is a business meeting of the school board. It is not a meeting that belongs to the public. Each speaker is asked to state his or her name and address for the record. Failure to do so will result in an individual not being allowed to speak.
One of the men who wanted to speak didn't want to give his full address for safety reasons, but he eventually gave his house number after the school board chair insisted.
Could I get your address, please, John?
I'd rather not, since you guys have it already.
Don't give your address, you can't speak.
And I get so much property damage and eggs and everything else from fun people and their friends.
John,
happening to be on
you
the
need
school
to
board.
give your address.
All right, I live on 5th Street.
Excuse me?
I live on 5th Street.
House number?
The school board chair announced additional rules for people who want to speak. For example, starting from the November 1st meeting, people can speak only about items on the board agenda.
Open forum participants are prohibited from calling out or addressing any individual school board or school district staff member. Crowd noise or any sort of grandstanding during open forum, including applause, talking, hollering, or any outbursts will result in open forum being closed.
Each person is allowed to speak for 3 minutes. People who violate the rules won't be allowed to speak at future school board meetings. The chair of the school board says the rules were put in place because some members of the public showed unacceptable behavior at the meeting on October 4th.
We have an update on the 2015 church shooting that left 9 people dead in Charleston, South Carolina. The victims' families have reached a settlement with the federal government. Now the Justice Department will pay them a total of $88 million. NTD's Kevin Hogan has the details.
The Justice Department's settlement includes between $6 and $7.5 million for the families of those who were killed and $5 million for the 5 survivors. The attorney who negotiated the deal praised Attorney General Merrick Garland, who heads the department.
These individuals were killed because they were black. That attack was not on First Baptist. That attack was on Mother Emanuel AME Church. So let's not misconstrue what this issue is. The unique part about this, though, is that this administration, particularly this Justice Department, take that issue seriously.
In 2015, a man who called himself a white supremacist targeted the historic black congregation Mother Emanuel AME Church in Charleston, South Carolina. He killed 9 black people during their Bible study. The man got the death penalty but is appealing. The widow of late politician and pastor Reverend Clementa Pinckney, who was murdered in the shooting, speaks out.
I think about if I had the opportunity to bring Clemente back, I'd switch. You can all take the settlement. Bring my husband back to me. Bring their father back to them.
The settlement resolves the 14 plaintiffs' claims of wrongful death. Those claims allege the FBI was negligent in selling a gun to someone who was prohibited from obtaining one based on the National Background Check System. The shooter was found guilty on 33 counts of federal hate crimes.
While we cannot bring back the lives lost, while we cannot take away the hurt that continues to permeate not only in Charleston but around these United States of America, we simply say to those persons who would harbor hate in their hearts that hate won't win.
The plaintiffs allege that the FBI didn't determine the shooter was prohibited from obtaining a gun fast enough, and due to the delay, he was able to buy the handgun used to commit the atrocity. The fallen pastor's daughter was just 6 years old when bullets sprayed through the basement of the church. The girl hid under a desk with her mother.
When I was 6 years old when this terrible massacre happened, I didn't know that my father was such a big inspiration to people all over the world. So something I want to leave you with today here is just because you came from nothing doesn't mean that you can't be something.
The settlement still needs to be approved, but the court is expected to consider it fair and reasonable, and the Justice Department will pay the $88 million. Kevin Hogan, NTD News.
Halloween is this weekend, but there could be more tricks than treats. Today, California issued an alert warning parents to watch out for cannabis-infused edibles packaged as candy or snacks targeting children. NTD's Cynthia Tsai reports.
California's Attorney General issued a consumer alert warning Californians of cannabis-infused edibles. The edibles are being packaged and sold as copycat versions of popular food and candy products, mimicking major brands including Oreos, Doritos, Cheetos, and more.
They are unregulated and untested cannabis products sold by unlicensed manufacturers and marketed to underage Californians.
Bonta said parents should look for images of a cannabis leaf or language such as medicated, THC, CBD, and keep out of reach of children and animals. While these cannabis-laced edibles are illegal, California legalized the recreational use of cannabis in 2016 under Proposition 64.
There are 3 things we can all do to keep our kids, family, and community safe. 1, know how to identify look-alike products. 2, know the health risks. And 3, report illegal products.
The warning comes amid an increase in calls to poison control centers reporting children drug consumptions. According to the press release, California saw 1,173 calls to the Poison Control Center for services related to children aged 0 through 19 ingesting cannabis products. Calls nearly tripled since legalization of marijuana. Earlier this month, attorney generals in New York, Connecticut, Arkansas, and Ohio also asked parents to check their children's treats and to be on guard for cannabis-laced edibles. Cynthia Tsai, NTD News, California.
A Southern California high school student is suing her school district. The school isn't allowing religious exemptions from its COVID-19 vaccine mandate. The student's lawyer speaks with NTD's David Lamb.
A 16-year-old student at Scripps Ranch High School and her parents filed a lawsuit on October 22nd against the San Diego Unified School District to block its COVID-19 or CCP virus mandate.
The mandate was approved last month, requiring students over 16 years old to receive their second dose by December.
She, as I said, recovered from COVID. She's a healthy, very smart and very talented athlete.
Jonah, the attorney working on the case, says the family wishes to remain anonymous to protect themselves from anticipated retaliation or harassment.
And we already have received reports, in fact, since this case was just recently filed, that a teacher read an article about this case in class, and students were joking around about, let's find who this girl is and jump her.
The attorney states that if the schools are creating options for secular exemptions, such as medical reasons, they would need to do the same for religious reasons for students.
And teachers, interestingly, can also request a religious exemption under Title VII, but students can't. So we filed a lawsuit in federal court, Southern District of California, and we're challenging the mandate on First Amendment free exercise of religion grounds.
The student, who is a junior, has to pick between her education or her faith. She's hoping to get a sports scholarship. The complaint says her faith prevents her from taking any of the currently available COVID-19 vaccinations due to their taint with aborted fetal cells.
Otherwise, what's going to happen with our client is she's going to be forced to either take a vaccine that she believes in good faith will violate her faith, or not take the vaccine and withdraw from sports. She's in multiple sports, and also engage in distance learning. So those are the options she's faced with. That's unnecessary. It's unconstitutional.
Jonah said the student's deadline to get a first dose is at the end of next month, but they plan to get an injunction from the court to intervene.
Now, the school district has a non-discrimination statement saying the school should be free from discrimination based on genetic information, medical condition, or religion. NTD reached out for details but wasn't able to get a comment by press deadline. David Lamb, NTD News, California.
And in San Francisco, police officers are now mandated to receive jabs to continue their jobs. 41 who are unvaccinated are put on paid leave. NTD's Eileen Ang hears from two about the process and what they're doing now.
During the pandemic, San Francisco allowed its city employees to submit exemptions for the COVID-19 vaccine. They were approved, but the city decided to require city workers, including police, to be vaccinated by October 13th. 41 officers are currently on paid leave.
For some reason, we were told that they were going to go under a secondary review process, and then we had to answer some additional questions, submit those by a deadline, and then we were told that we received paperwork that stated that our exemptions were now denied. So they were approved, and then they went under review, and then subsequently they were denied.
Worthington was born and raised in San Francisco. It is her 20th year with the San Francisco Police Department.
It's been really rough for all of us. I've been in contact with my colleagues who are impacted by the mandates and who are on leave, and we're going through a lot of stress, a lot of heartache. We worked tirelessly through the pandemic, and just to undergo a complete 180 and to be yanked from duty and put on leave is pretty heartbreaking.
They are not allowed to work or volunteer during this time, despite the lack of resources.
They were pulling officers from admin positions, so people who had been doing paperwork for the last 20 years are now being pulled out to go on the street, which they were doing prior to terminating us because they just don't have enough people on the streets. They took trainers from the academy and put them back on the street. And then they hired retired people to come into the academy to make up for the training that they otherwise don't have.
It is Schiff's third year with the San Francisco Police. Her now retired father, brother, and significant other are also officers.
I'm never not going to be a police officer. It's how I was raised, it's how I see myself. You could put a crowd of people who all look exactly the same. And the only thing that's different about the majority of us who do this work is that when something happens, everybody else ducks and runs, we're running towards the danger.
Those on leave are waiting for a hearing and their superiors to inform them what to do next. Eileen Ang, NTD News, California.
And Taiwanese President Tsai Ing-wen has just confirmed that U.S. troops are in Taiwan. She also says she's confident that the U.S. would defend the self-ruled island if China were to attack. NTD's Don Ma has more.
In a CNN interview Wednesday night, Taiwan President Tsai Ing-wen confirmed that American troops are on Taiwanese soil. She's the first president to make a public confirmation in the last 40 years.
How many U.S. service members are deployed in Taiwan right now?
Not as many as people thought.
Beijing was quick to respond. On Thursday, the Chinese Foreign Ministry expressed opposition to the U.S. having military ties with Taiwan. Tsai's confirmation comes amid soaring tensions between China and Taiwan. Earlier this month, Chinese Communist Party leader Xi Jinping declared it was China's so-called historical responsibility to take over Taiwan. That while sending some 150 warplanes into Taiwan's air defense zone.
This is probably the most challenging time for people of Taiwan. If it's a threat from China, it's increasing every day. We have to expedite our military reform so that we have the ability to defend ourselves.
Tsai says the reason she's committed to defending Taiwan is because there are 23 million people trying hard every day to protect themselves and protect Taiwan's democracy, and making sure that Taiwan's people have the kind of freedom they deserve. She added that if they fail, then that means people that believe in these values would doubt whether these are values that they should be fighting for. When asked whether she has faith that the U.S. would defend Taiwan if mainland China attacked, Tsai Ing-wen replied,
I do have faith, and given the long-term relationship that we have with the U.S. and also
This comment from Tsai comes after Biden said the U.S. would come to the island's defense if China attacked. Though White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki walked back on Biden's comment the next day.
There is no change in our policy. Our defense relationship with Taiwan is guided by the Taiwan Relations Act.
The Taiwan Relations Act states that the U.S. would provide Taiwan with self-defense capabilities. It does not say the U.S. would intervene militarily in the event of a Chinese attack. Though Tsai Ing-wen has faith, Taiwan's defense minister said on Thursday that Taiwan must be prepared to defend itself and not entirely depend on other countries for help. Don Ma, NTD News.
Thanks for watching us on YouTube. Don't forget to catch all of our programs on TV. NTD Evening News is on every weekday at 6:30 p.m. Find your local NTD channel at ntd.com/TV.